Hey, what do we say?
Hey, we're like, aye.
Hey, fight friends. I'm Ray. Let's start.
Oi.
Do you say hey, fight friends? What do you say?
Hey guys, it's your best fight friends.
Oh, good. I knew it was somewhere in there. Hey guys, it's your best fight friends. I'm Rachel. This is Kelsey, and today, Kelsey, we're going to talk about boxing's Hall of Fame because the ballots just went out and people are out there making their choices, and you, being a member of the BWAA,
an esteemed voter,
get to you get to vote for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So it was, from what I hear, it was quite the class.
It is. It's because they changed the rules. I think the fighters used to. This is only my second time voting for this thing, so
Okay.
I'm not. I don't know the stuff before because I wasn't part of it. But I think that it used to be 5 years that a fighter had to be retired for 5 years before he was eligible. They changed it to 3 this year, and so that means guys like all of a sudden popping up on the ballot is Floyd Mayweather Jr., Andre Ward, Miguel Cotto.
That wouldn't have been on there for at least a couple more years.
Yeah, so
depending if they came back to the ring or not and restarted their time over, right?
Yeah, Vladimir Klitschko. So it's like a huge.
I wonder why they changed
influx.
that.
Well, it's because they want.
The curmudgeon in me is not a fan.
Well, it's because the Boxing Hall of Fame wants people to come to it, and so the sooner they can get the bigger stars there. I don't know if that's true, but I would guess that's what the Boxing Hall of Fame is. It's a place.
Yeah. Anyway, it was quite the class, that came in. Like you said, Floyd Mayweather. Tell us the big names on the ballot.
Well, Floyd Mayweather, I think the locks that are sure to get in, no matter who votes and how, are obviously Floyd Mayweather is going to get in on the first ballot. I think Vladimir Klitschko is going to get in right on the first ballot, and I think that Andre Ward is also a lock for the Hall of Fame. Those 3 guys, those are going to be your top 3 vote getters. But there's also a whole lot of other fighters that are interesting and potentially could lead to a class of 5. Yeah. The top 3 vote getters get in automatically, okay. And then if the fighters appear on a certain percentage of ballots, I think it's 70%, they can have up to 5.
They'll also put in 4 and 5. Okay.
Potentially, you could see Miguel Cotto be inducted into the Hall of Fame, James Toney be inducted into the Hall of Fame. It could be Ricky Hatton. There's a whole lot of people on that list. Timothy Bradley's that people like a lot for that spot. There's a lot of fighters. For me, and there's different people. There's different voters. There's different kinds of people, even if you just pay attention to things. I am usually I want as many guys in the Hall of Fame as can get in. Other people are more sticklers, right? They only want it's like this in everything. Yeah, so they make up their own set of guidelines and criteria. I tend to be the other way where you don't have to vote for 5. Both times I've voted for 5. Because I think these guys deserve to be in it. I think there are more guys that deserve to be, that you can make a case for the Hall of Fame that aren't in than vice versa.
Kelsey, tell us, who is your number 5 pick? Or should we do number 1? What's going to be the most exciting?
What's the most tantalizing?
Let's number 1, because we know.
That's right, Andre Ward, baby.
You picked Andre Ward, okay.
No.
Okay.
What's Floyd. That? It's obviously Floyd.
Well, I was that's a shocker.
To me, the 3 that jumped off the page to me, Floyd was he's the best fighter of the last 50 years, whatever. But obviously, to me, the 3 that grouped together in my mind that were easy were Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, and Vladimir Klitschko. I think all of them were all-time great fighters who definitely are more like each other than the rest of them.
Do you feel like people out there take issue with Vladimir Klitschko?
Potentially, but I think that if you want to split hairs, you could. It's really Floyd, and then you're well, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Vladimir Klitschko ranks as high pound for pound as Floyd Mayweather or even Andre Ward, but Vladimir Klitschko is one of the best heavyweight champions ever.
Yeah.
So anyway, those 3 jumped off the page to me as the locks of I'm clearly voting for these 3 guys.
It's surprising to me.
And I can't imagine people not voting for these 3 guys. Although I've seen people on Twitter talk about maybe not having some of the people in there. Well, not those 3. I think all 3. I think those 3 I've seen on everybody's thing that's close.
That have shared their votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that left
So
me
that's
with,
your top 3. So who's your 4 and 5? Because
that left
Kelsey
me with
did all
2
5.
spots that I had to think long and hard about. Kind of. I mean, it wasn't that long and hard of a think about. Last year I voted for Ricky Hatton. This year I did not vote for Ricky Hatton because I couldn't justify voting for Ricky Hatton over Miguel Cotto, who won titles in 3 different weight classes, including being lineal champion middleweight.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of sealed the deal for me. He was a pretty easy and one of the best fighters ever to come out of Puerto Rico, big star, all that.
And then your number 5
James
pick?
lights up Tony, baby. He's one of the best fighters ever. Guy that fought all the way from middleweight, where he fought against the best fighters there, all the way up to cruiserweight and heavyweight, even beating Evander Holyfield at heavyweight. James Toney's easily a Hall of Fame fighter, and so I was excited to vote for him.
Yeah. I would think that if you were going to limit yourself to only the 3 spots, then I could maybe see somebody being like, well, no, I'm going to pick Cotto over Klitschko. Or, I mean, like, so that's what I mean. Like, it depends how many spots you have available. But if you only limit yourself to 3.
I've seen
Hey,
people,
I'm a Klitschko fan, too.
Yeah,
like, I'm playing the advocate here.
I don't remember what it was. I've seen people not maybe put James Toney in there, which I was surprised at. But I think James Toney's. I think all 5 of the guys should get in. Now, will they? Just because Kelsey thinks something, does that matter? No, usually not. It usually doesn't matter. But I definitely think all of those are deserving of the Hall of Fame. Miguel Cotto, to me, was maybe the one I thought most about. But maybe I don't know. I was never a big Miguel Cotto fan, I guess is what it was. But I was like, well, if you look at it, he won titles in 3 different weight classes. His victory over Antonio Margarito, especially in the circumstances of that first fight, is huge. And then if you're a junior welterweight who moves all the way up and just demolishes the lineal middleweight champion the way he did against Sergio Martinez, and then granted maybe the guy had a bum knee, whatever, he still did it.
Yeah.
He still was the middleweight champion. You just completely destroyed that guy.
Well, I think sometimes it's helpful to take these things and kind of take their achievements and put them on paper separate from the fighter. Because sometimes I'm kind of cool on a fighter for whatever reason, their personality, or bigger yet is however the clips that I saw of them, like I just didn't feel like connected to. That doesn't even mean I don't know these people, Like if you don't meet somebody in real life, you don't know them. So I have a very limited view of some of these fighters, and there's a couple that are on the ballot thing where I just don't feel like a big connection to. So I would have to separate what they did and just look at it on paper.
Yeah, and that's what we have to do, I think. You have to look on paper and say, what are his historical accomplishments? And those 5 guys clearly are the class of the ballot this year. It's an incredibly deep ballot, and I wish I could vote for more people, but I can't. There's a lot of good names on the list that are not gonna maybe even get into the Hall of Fame because of the way they changed the rules, and because there's just so many, right? There's just so many great fighters, and voting bodies. Whenever you get groups of people together, things get weird. And people get left out sometimes, and I don't know why it happens, but it does. I don't understand to me, Ricky Hatton should be in the Hall of Fame, right? He was this is the Hall of Fame. He was an incredibly big superstar from England that people would file over here to watch him fight. He lost to Manny Pacquiao and to Floyd Mayweather, 2 of the greatest fighters ever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't see how he couldn't be. He was so great at 140 pounds. I just think he should be in it. A lot of people feel the same way about Timothy Bradley. I've seen some people will maybe include Timothy Bradley on their ballot this year, and a lot did last year, although he didn't get in last year. So maybe he gets in this year. I don't know. He won titles in 2 different weight classes. Yeah. And was one of the popular American contenders. Of course, his famous fight against Manny Pacquiao that almost everybody but Timothy Bradley and a handful of other people think he lost. Yeah. Still, this Tim Bradley,
paper,
I think
he
maybe
that.
he deserved. Yeah, he did win that fight. He did also beat Juan Manuel Marquez. He did legitimately win that fight. He's done a lot of amazing things. There's a lot of guys on that list again who deserve probably to be in the Hall of Fame. Grateful that I can send my one little vote off, and I'll probably always vote for as many people as I can.
Can you talk any about women's boxing?
I don't get that ballot.
You don't get that ballot?
No, they don't.
How's
So
that
they're-
work?
I don't know. You have to ask the Boxing Hall of Fame. I think that you don't want, what the Boxing Hall of Fame doesn't want to do is send a ballot about women's boxing to people that
Don't
don't follow women's
closely
boxing.
follow women's boxing.
Now, I
That
have
makes
followed
sense.
women's boxing
Yeah.
in my life, but I don't know. I wasn't
Okay.
included,
I was
so
just curious.
I didn't ask.
All right. Well, I figured
But I
if you
think
knew or made votes, we would talk about it to, but you don't get the
I don't get, there's also there's old time, there's other categories that maybe some, like, I don't know who makes these decisions.
Hey, you know who's in my Hall of Fame?
Kelsey.
Yeah. And then all of our subscribers.
Kelsey.
They've made Rachel's subscribing YouTube subscriber Hall of Fame.
That's awesome.
That is awesome, guys.
You get our votes.
That just happened today, so mark it down on your calendar.
Congratulations.
October 7th, 2020, you made it to the Hall of Fame.